Hello, it's Dead Frames, and here are Crypids from all 50 states. Alabama White Thing. Deep in northern Alabama around Bankhead National Forest, locals have reported something they call the White Thing for nearly 100 years. In the 1930s, hunters described seeing a pale figure dart between trees, too tall to be a deer, but too thin to be a bear. One man reportedly fired at it only to watch it run upright into the woods. In the 1970s, drivers along Highway 36 claimed they swerved to avoid a white, humanoid shape crossing the road at night. No official investigations ever confirmed anything unusual, but older residents still warn, if you're driving those back roads after dark and you see something white standing in the trees, don't stop. Alaska. The Hairy Man of Port Chatham. In the 1950s, residents of Port Chatham, Alaska began reporting a massive hairy creature stalking the forest near their village. Locals claimed cabins were damaged, doors were ripped open, and heavy footsteps heard circling homes at night. One story tells of a man who went missing while checking fishing traps along the shore. Some villagers believed the hairy man was responsible. Fear spread through the small community. By the late 1950s, families began moving away. Today, Port Chatham is abandoned, and some former residents say they didn't leave because they wanted to. Arizona, Mogollon Monster. In 1903, a miner named I.W. Stevens claimed he encountered a towering, hairy creature near Arizona's Mogollon Rim. He said it stood upright, had a terrible odor, and let a scream that echoed through the canyon. Over the decades, campers reported similar experiences like massive footprints, wood-knocking sounds, and distant howls at night. In the 1970s, a Boy Scout troop leader claimed something large circled their campsite after dark. Officials have never confirmed any creature in the area, but the Mogollon Rim stretches far, hundreds of miles of wilderness, and not all of it is explored. Arkansas Folk Monster. In May 1971, Bobby and Elizabeth Ford of Folk, Arkansas, reported that a large, hairy creature attacked their home late at night. They described it as over 6 feet tall with glowing red eyes and long arms. Claw marks were allegedly found on their porch, and footprints were cast in plaster by investigators. The incident made headlines across the state. Some locals believed it was a bear. Others insisted it moved like a man. The legend became so famous it inspired the film The Legend of the Boggy Creek. And to this day, some residents say the swamps are not empty. California, the Dark Watchers. For over 200 years, hikers in California's Santa Lucia Mountains have reported seeing tall, shadowy figures standing motionless along ridgelines. Spanish settlers in the 1700s wrote about mysterious dark watchers who appeared at sunset. In the 1930s, author John Steinbeck even referenced them in a short story after locals told him about the figures. Modern hikers say the silhouettes appear impossibly tall, sometimes wearing what looks like cloaks or a wide-brimmed hat. When approached, they don't run, they don't move, they simply vanish. No footprints, no sound. Just a feeling that something was watching. Colorado, the Side Rock Bolter. In the late 1800s, lumberjacks working in Colorado's mountains told terrifying stories around campfires. They described a massive whale-like creature that lived on steep slopes. According to them, it would hook its tail onto a cliff, wait for prey below, then release its grip and slide down the mountain, swallowing everything in its path. One newspaper in 1910 even printed the tale as part of local folklore. Most historians say it was exaggerated frontier humor meant to entertain new workers, but the legend became so detailed that some people wondered if it started with something real. Connecticut Melonheads. In the 1960s, teenagers in Shelton, Connecticut began spreading stories about small humanoid figures lurking near Velvet Street. They called them Melonheads. The legend claimed they were children from a hidden asylum who had been experimented on, causing their heads to grow unnaturally large. Police records never confirmed such an asylum existed, but residents reported strange figures watching from the tree line when cars drove those back roads at night. Even today, locals say if your headlights catch something small standing in the woods, to keep driving. Delaware, Selbyville Swamp Monster. In 1964, residents near Selbyville, Delaware, reported seeing a large creature moving through the marshlands. One witness claimed it stood upright before dropping down and disappearing into tall reeds. Newspapers at the end suggested that it could have been a black bear, though bears were rare in that region. Tracks were reportedly found, but nothing definitive. Within weeks, the sighting stopped, but older locals still tell the story of something watching from the wetlands. Florida, skunk ape. In 2000, a woman in Sarasota, Florida, sent anonymous photographs to the local sheriff's office. The photos appeared to show a large ape-like creature standing in her backyard. She claimed it had been stealing apples from her porch and leaving behind a terrible stench. Authorities could not verify the images. The skunk ape sightings go back to the 1960s in the Everglades, where hunters and airboat drivers report hearing deep growls at night. With millions of acres of swamps, some believe if something large were hiding there, it would be found easily. Georgia, Altamaha. In 1981, a fisherman on Georgia's Altamaha River reported seeing a gray serpentine creature surface briefly before diving back under. He described humps rising from the water, similar to classic lake monster sightings. Throughout the 1980s, multiple boaters claimed similar encounters. The creature was nicknamed Alti. Marine biologists suggested a large sturgeon could explain some of the sightings, but believers point out that some witnesses insist the creature had flippers, not fins. Hawaii, Menehune. In Hawaiian oral tradition, the Menehune are small human-like beings said to build fish ponds, temples, and roads overnight. Stories date back centuries. One legend claims if you try to watch them work, they would disappear before sunrise. Unlike modern cryptids, the Menehune are deeply tied to cultural history and ancestral storytelling. Some ancient fish pods are traditionally created to them, whether spiritual beings or symbolic folklore. Their stories remain an important part of Hawaii identity. Idaho Charlie. In the 1920s, workers constructing a dam at a lake reported seeing a long serpent-like creature swimming near the surface. Locals began calling it Charlie. In 1944, a group of children claimed they saw something large roll in the water, creating waves that rocked their boat. Sightings continued through the 1950s. Sonar scans have never confirmed anything unusual, but the lake is over 300 feet deep in places. Illinois, Enfield horror. In April 1973, Henry McDaniel of Enfield, Illinois, called police after something scratched at his door late at night. He claimed he saw a creature with 3 legs, short arms, and glowing pink eyes. McDaniel fired 4 shots at it. Officers later found unusual footprints in the mud, described as a dog but with 6 toe pads. Sightings continued for weeks before abruptly stopping. McDaniel later said if they do find it, they'll find more than one. Indiana, Beast of Busco. In 1949, Oscar Folk told reporters he had rediscovered a giant snapping turtle in a pond near Churubusco, the same massive turtle he claimed to have seen 50 years earlier. He estimated it weighed over 500 pounds. The town organized search parties that lasted months. National media covered the story. The turtle was never captured, but the town still celebrates Turtle Days every year. Iowa, Van Meter visitor. In 1903, banker U.G. Griffith reported seeing a winged creature perched on a building in Iowa. He described a horn on its forehead that emitted a beam of light. Over 5 nights, multiple townspeople fired shots at the creature. Finally, witnesses claimed it retreated into an abandoned mine shaft. The mine was never fully searched and the creature was never seen again. Kansas, Sinkhole Sam. In the 1950s near Inman, Kansas, locals began reporting a strange creature living in a small body of water called McPherson's County's sinkhole. Witnesses described a 15-foot-long serpent-like animal with smooth skin and a head shaped almost like a cow's. It supposedly appeared multiple times throughout the decade, sometimes surfacing briefly before slipping back under. Teenagers would dare each other to visit the water at night. Some claimed they saw ripples moving against the wind. Wildlife officials suggested it could have just been a large fish, or exaggerated stories, but the legend stuck, and to this day the pond is still called Sinkhole Sam's home. Kentucky, Hope Lick Monster. In the 1950s, stories spread around Louisville, Kentucky about a creature haunting the Pope Lick Railroad trestle. They called it the Pope Lick Monster. They described it as a goat-man hybrid with fur-covered legs and glowing eyes. Some legends claim it hypnotizes victims or mimics voices to lure them into the tracks. While no verified creature has ever been found, authorities have repeatedly warned people to stay off the trestle after real injuries and deaths occurred from trespassing. Whether monster or myth, the danger around the bridge is still very real. Louisiana Rougarou. In Cajun, please don't cancel me. I don't know how to say this word, but in Cajun communities across southern Louisiana, stories of the Rougarou date back hundreds of years. Derived from the French word loup-garou, meaning werewolf. The Rougarou is said to stalk the bows at night. God, this one has this script. Oh my god. Okay. Some versions say it's a cursed human who transforms under a full moon. Others claim it haunts those who break religious traditions during Lent. In the early 20th century, farmers reportedly hearing howls echo across the swamps before livestock were found injured. Though likely folklore, passed through generations, the legend remains deeply rooted in the Cajun culture. Okay, I practice this so much. I suck at I think it's French. I please don't be offended. Okay, sorry about that. Maine. Spectre Moose. In 19th century logging camps of northern Maine, workers told stories of a massive ghostly moose wandering through the fog. They called it the Spectre Moose. Some described glowing antlers and eyes shining red in the darkness. One camp journal from the 1890s mentions a worker refusing to leave his bunk after claiming he saw the creature standing silently behind the trees. Most historians believe the sightings were fueled by isolation and exhaustion, but in Maine's deep forest, even shadows can feel alive. Maryland, Snallygaster. In the early 1900s, newspapers across Maryland reported sightings of a terrifying creature called the Snallygaster. Witnesses described a dragon-like beast with enormous wings, sharp beak, and tentacles. Farmers claimed livestock were found drained of blood. The hysteria became so intense that reports say President Theodore Roosevelt considered personally hunting it. Soon after, stories shifted to another creature called the Dwayyo, and the sightings stopped. Some believe the panic was fueled by media exaggeration. Massachusetts. Dover Demon. In April 1977, 17-year-old Bill Bartlett was driving through Dover, Massachusetts when he spotted a small humanoid creature perched on a stone wall. He described it was large and hairless with glowing orange eyes and thin limbs wrapping around the rocks. Over the next 24 hours, 2 other teenagers reported seeing the exact same figure. The creature never acted aggressive, it simply watched. The sightings lasted 2 days, then ended forever. To this day, no explanation has been confirmed. Michigan Dogman. In 1887, lumberjacks in Wexford County, Michigan, reported encountering a creature with the body of a man and the head of a dog. But the legend exploded in 1987 when a local radio DJ created a fictional song about the Michigan Dogman. After it aired, listeners flooded the station claiming real encounters. Some described a 7-foot-tall wolf-like figure walking upright. Were the sightings inspired by the song, or did the song awaken an old legend? Minnesota, the Wendigo. In northern Minnesota, stories of the Wendigo come from the Algonquian indigenous traditions. The Wendigo is described as a gaunt, towering spirit associated with winter, isolation, and greed. Unlike many cryptids, this figure is rooted in spiritual belief and cultural teaching rather than the modern monster hunting. Some early European settlers claimed to see tall figures in blizzards, but many scholars emphasize the importance of respecting its cultural origins. It's less a creature and more a warning. Mississippi. The Mississippi River Monster. In the late 1800s, steamboat passengers along the Mississippi River reported seeing massive serpentine shapes moving beneath the water. One 1874 newspaper described a water monster surfacing near Vicksburg. Witnesses claimed it was a long body and large head resembling a snake. Some scientists suggested giant sturgeon sightings could explain it, but the Mississippi River stretches over 2,000 miles, much of it murky and unexplored. Missouri Momo. In 1972, residents of Louisiana, Missouri reported a large, hairy creature stalking the outskirts of town. They nicknamed it Momo, short for Missouri Monster. Children claimed they saw it watching from trees. Footprints were allegedly found near the Mississippi River. Local police investigated but found no physical evidence. Still, the town embraces the legend, and some believe Momo never left. That was a cryptid from every US state. Comment which cryptid was in your state. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe for more.